We knew what was going to happen. Surely Splyce also knew.
It also gives Splyce the option to pick the other strong AD carry that's been left up, with the Xayah and Akali being banned out. They will go towards the Kaisa and lock that in straight away. Last time these two teams met, it was Renekton that we saw banned away by Splyce as well towards that top side. FPX have already shown us how strong Gimgoon can be on that just in the last game.
In games like this, you often see players fall back onto the champions that they were most successful on. You don't actually see a first pick Ryze that often out of FPX at this World Championship, but in this case, knowing Humanoid had the great game on it, knowing that Doinb is the guy that needs to carry. Think about what has happened to FPX when he's been on Galio or on Sion. Those are their only two defeats. When he's on a champion that does high amounts of damage, they have been undefeated.
And now, it's not the Cassiopeia, but it's Humanoid's other bread and butter champion in the Syndra. Trying to compete with a lot of that wave clear. Syndra can match Ryze, especially in the early levels.
Did struggle the last time he played it. I believe it was into a LeBlanc. He went 0-5 or something like that. So we'll see if he has been able to recoup some of his skill on that champion. There's the Renekton for Gimgoon in the top lane. Looks like Tian is going to take Gragas into the jungle here for FunPlus Phoenix.
And you're already setting up the potential of that dive. Yes, Raz said it on the desk that Gimgoon usually doesn't get the time of day with Tian and making those dives work. But when you have a Renekton and a Gragas and you see the Gangplank get locked in for Chachi, you saw how well Gam were able to put Chachi into the ground. FPX can say, we already have the blueprint about how we're going to maneuver you on this map, and it starts with punishing a Gangplank in the top side.
And we get into that second phase of pick and ban. Lucian removed. Splyce could try and target out some of those AD carries here. Keep Lwx away from any champions he's comfortable on.
I mean, I do really like the Lucian ban. It's a champion that has really fallen away here at the World Championship, but it was Lwx's most played in the summer split, a 9-1 record. So Splyce doing very good prep work against FPX. It showed in their first two drafts against them, and I feel like it shows with that Lucian ban.
And it could also be why they pulled the trigger so early on Syndra. Not only is she just a great champion for Humanoid, but it also kind of acts as you're banning Lucian Varus, and then your first two picks are Kaisa Syndra, that you're continuously limiting that champion pool that can go down into Lwx's hands. He's going to have to reach very deep here.
You can see FPX are trying to limit Xerxe in the jungle. Already got rid of the Rek'Sai. We've seen Qiyana banned away. Gragas taken away by FPX as well. So that pool is shrinking by the second.
Yeah, I would imagine that Lwx will end up going with Ezreal.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see, because there's stuff like Ezreal, Caitlyn available, or unlikely he reaches for something like Jinx that Kobbe played, but we'll have to see.
I also wonder where Norskeren's going to go here. He's got the Thresh. We've seen him play that a couple of times. But with the Nautilus banned, he could go for Rakan. It doesn't look like they're going to pick it in right now. It will be the Elise for Xerxe in the jungle.
Don't mind that pick there for a last pick support, waiting to see what the AD carry pick is from FPX.
And frankly, there weren't a lot of options left for Xerxe, so I don't mind, like you're saying, the counter pick option there. It was pretty clear that it was probably going to be an Elise with so many jungle bans hitting the bench. I think Norskeren, if you pick Thresh there and you suspect that there's an Ezreal, maybe then you don't want to go for the Thresh. Maybe then you reach for something like, I was going to say Norskeren's Leona, but in fact, they're going to double down and take away the Thresh anyway.
Thresh picked up here by Crisp. We have seen Norskeren get caught out quite a few times in that bottom lane across the course of the group. So having someone who can hook him in, having someone who can catch him out, could work out very well. Ashe as well gives you that long-range engage potential if you want it.
That's the Lwx style.
That's the Lwx style. Laying down the gauntlet in the bottom lane with the Vayne pick.
I do want to point out, it looks to me like that's Crisp's first Thresh game of summer. So more so, I think, a pick away from Norskeren than necessarily something they feel like they need in this game. And Vayne in this type of tiebreaker is just straight up throwing down.
You got to do it. There's the Rakan for Norskeren. So Kaisa Rakan into Vayne Thresh in the bottom lane here.
Something nice about having the Vayne there is you actually get a little bit more safety of taking something like a Rakan. Rakan as a support doesn't have a lot of winning matchups when he's not paired with the Xayah to get kind of the passive buffs off of that champion matchup. And so because it is a Vayne, it makes it less punishing for Norskeren to get a champion that he's so comfortable with and not just completely sacrifice the lane phase.
Well, this is it. This is the game for first seed. Both these teams revitalized in the second half of group. Splyce undefeated on the day. Are they playing?
They just swapped Doinb off of Ryze. They just flex picked that Renekton into Doinb's hands. That is shocking that they would do that in this stage.
He's a man with a big champion pool. We talk about it so often. It has a lot of these niche picks, but as you say, getting him off Ryze is surprising to say the least.
But Doinb has absolutely played the Renekton in the mid lane. Maybe it was the trap. Like we said, both these teams so telegraphed in draft phase. We know that they can flex. Maybe FPX said, Humanoid will go for the Syndra, I'll take the Renekton, and I'll smash this kid in lane.
Oh, what a game to lay down in. FunPlus Phoenix, the #1 seed from the LPL, trying to fight, but they are against Splyce, the Snakes. VODS and Shocks in the crowd, showing their support for the Elise #3 seed. There are 3 #1 seeds in this group, from the LMS, from the BCS, from the LPL. Only one #3, but Splyce are trying to prove they don't care which seed they are. They will still take first in the group.
Absolutely true. So much fan support from Splyce coming into the day. You can check the Twitter vote as well. They voted for Splyce in all 3 games today. There'd be little doubt who they'd vote for in this one as well, Medic.
Let's get on to Summoner's Rift. Come on, let's stop delaying this. Let's get into the action. Final game of the day, final game of Group B. Everything on the line for these two teams. We'll see them both in Madrid, but that first seed means so much when it comes to the quarterfinal matchups.
FPX wanting to make their #1 seed. That's what everyone expected of them coming into this group. And even though they've stumbled a bit in the group stage, none of that would actually matter if they were able to win this game. And nice tweet there by Vizicsacsi about never dropping out.
Technically correct.
And still hasn't. He's going to be 100% advancement rate in every stage of Worlds he's been in, really.
I do want to talk about kind of the other changes, not only in the matchup in this mid lane between Renekton and Syndra, but also now what it means in terms of game plan for FPX. This is a AP jungler in the Gragas with now an AD mid laner with the Renekton. So potentially you have a lot more setup of playing that 2v2 mid, of constantly ganking that lane and really trying to punish this Syndra than having the Renekton on the top side. And that makes much more sense. Like, Gimgoon, you're on your own again, buddy. Sorry. Farm it out. Have a good time, because this should always be the Doinb and Tian show.
We have seen Humanoid struggle when he is put behind early on, so maybe FPX trying to play that card in this game. Press the attack on Doinb there as well on the Renekton, so that's a lot of damage that can come out very quickly from the Crocodile in mid lane.
Yeah, that's the expected play. You have to be so careful if you're Humanoid in this mid lane. As we mentioned during Champions Select, even though he is a good Syndra, the time he played Syndra against J-Team, against LeBlanc, he ended up 5 deaths, I believe, throughout the game. So once you do fall behind the curve on Syndra, it can be devastating, and would definitely not be surprising if Tian's first Gragas game is mid.
Is the Predator Gragas, so usually we see him clear a couple of camps, get that back, get the Predator boots early on. Humanoid is just harassing Doinb there in the middle lane for the moment.
It's because FPX have good information. You saw the blue ping go down on the minimap there with that ward on the Raptor camp from Xerxe. In fact, Xerxe's taken some very creative pathing here. Red Krugs are now looking for an invade, trying to figure out what's been left on Tian's jungle. He's going to find it empty, and now potentially setting up a dive.
Gangplank can get a lot of health off of his lane opponent early just by spamming Q, so this is a potentially successful dive if they can land the cocoon.
Gimgoon trying to dodge around. The cocoon misses by a mile. Gimgoon doesn't even have to flash away, but now he flashes and the chase is still on. Xerxe's going to jump up. Chachi survives and first blood goes to Splyce.
Yeah, but by the skin of their teeth right there, Splyce doing their best FPX impression and making that dive count.
Still counts.
Yeah.
They get the first blood onto Vizicsacsi, which is so important. The wave is still there for Gimgoon to be able to clear away when he comes back, but that's a good start for Splyce.
Doinb was harassing it down, Humanoid in the mid lane as well. Now he has to be a little bit respectful because he knows Xerxe could be around. He goes in, the knockback comes out. Call the meek use. Doinb's going to try and slice and dice away. Still has the flash. Xerxe has a flash of his own, but look how much damage Doinb's taken. Doinb flashes into no vision towards Tian, towards safety, and he will escape.
He's got to get escorted out the rest of it, though, so he'll lose some mid lane pressure. Very tense situation in this game. Xerxe still does have flash, remember. And they're out.
And that's the trade that I really want to highlight. It's the fact that Doinb now doesn't have access to his flash, where you have both those key summoners for Xerxe and Humanoid. There's a world where, you know, Xerxe tries to hard force that. He also flashes over the wall and tries to pick up the kill, or you just rinse and repeat, knowing that Doinb has to be that much more conscious in lane.
And you can really see how strong the Elise dive is when you have Gimgoon dodging the cocoon outright, burning his flash and still dying.
Lwx is ticking down here with the Ignite. Kobbe maybe looking for the fight. Lwx still has heal. Plasma's not really going to do too much, but Splyce able to win the 2v2 trade in the bottom lane.
Lwx has the biscuits, 2 of them sitting in his inventory if he wants to try and sustain up, knowing that the Ignite is down actually, and the heal from Kobbe means that if Tian wants to kind of switch focus since his solo laner doesn't have flash, bottom lane would be a potential gank opportunity.
And he does have great setup in there, obviously. He doesn't have to just walk around the corner. So even though Norskeren and Kobbe are getting good deep vision in the tri-brush to try to check out for junglers, you could just throw a Dark Passage down there, pull Tian into the lane, force that gank with Flash Flay into Body Slam.
And he has got back and got the Predator boots now as well, so be even quicker at getting into one of those ganks. We did ask where his first gank would be. Haven't yet seen Tian have an impact on the map. Xerxe's been a little bit quicker in this early game, and Doinb now on this Renekton has to be a little bit careful because a cocoon could
Flashless.
connect. No flash, as you say. Tian coming in from the side. It's going to be on a ward. There's the scatter of the week. Flash. Oh, slice and dice away from Doinb just in time.
And Doinb doing a really good job playing the correct side of the lane, knowing that he didn't have information. He played towards the bottom side, tried to make the educated guess, and it was that distance that actually allowed him to get out of that, giving him the time that even though Xerxe burned the flash, that he could still slice out.
And now Tian is the one to look for that mid lane gank. Don't think he was spotted out on those minions. Humanoid is pushed very far up. Has the unleashed power, but no Xerxe to save him.
Has flash.
Here comes Tian. Flash away early on from Humanoid. Manages to survive the gank.
I think that was well played from both sides right there. Humanoid's low on mana, so they wouldn't necessarily be able to turn it. And Tian just knew that the flash was going to be forced because he had Predator boots.
But frankly, I think Xerxe actually needed to help Humanoid there. Humanoid did eventually get the wave shoved in, but Xerxe kind of pieced out into the bottom river and let his mid laner try to force that wave in by himself, leaving Humanoid exposed for that type of gank. So kind of a disconnect there between Splyce's mid and jungle.
And this is kind of similar to what's happened in past Tian versus Xerxe games, where Tian has way more CS, and Xerxe has ganked more than pretty much any other jungler of the world's group stage. So he's definitely a little bit behind right now, and with the level 6 on Renekton, FPX is doing their best to try and invade and get that advantage.
Yeah, Splyce just not able to react to this one quickly at all. Xerxe will now realize that something not very good is going on for Splyce, but Tian secures it. There's the hook coming in, and Xerxe already stunned up and locked down. Norskeren with the blast gun will knock them back, but Humanoid's not in the best of shapes now. Lwx going low, dodging around as much as he can. The kill comes out. GPO doing a lot of work here, but Doinb can step back forward, looking for the cold. The Meek will heal him up a bunch. Humanoid is down, and now Norskeren and Kobbe have to run for the hills. No flashes available, no escape really. Norskeren tried to battle dance out, will get the jump away in the end. Ends up being a 2-for-1 trade in favor of FPX.
As big as that was for FPX, they can't be happy about the kill distribution. Thresh has very poor gold scaling, and picking up 2 kills there means it's just the assist gold that'll go over to the Renekton and the Vayne that we're hoping to snowball off that river play.
And frankly, that's the only silver lining there for Splyce fans. That was Splyce completely losing track of where FPX were, either miscommunication about who was rotating, but Xerxe came around that corner and it seemed like he was very surprised to find 20 members.
He can sneak around for this top lane gank, though. There's a sense of security from the control ward for Gimgoon right there, and he is still he has his flash back, but he's got a lot of lane to go.
Realm Warp is there. The Cocoon's going to connect and stop it, though, and now the chase is on Gimgoon. Tried to Realm Warp out, but didn't have the flash. Norskeren in the mid lane, trying to get the knock up here. The hook still lands on Humanoid, and that Syndra will fall once again, gifted over to Doinb.
And notice how Crisp canceled his auto attack there. So properly giving the kill over to Doinb, as FPX have now been able to manufacture some positive plays to fight back in this game against Splyce.
And now, talking about that gold distribution, as the gold's now being funneled back into Doinb's pocket, if we look across on Splyce, you can see that Gangplank's now 2-0-1 with the 2 extra kills. He got himself a very early Hex Drinker. He's going to be very competent in that lane. But this can always help if you continue to try to snowball Chachi as your strategy for when when Gangplank has that level 11 ultimate, has kind of that snowball lead, maybe that's the difference maker for Splyce in these fights, having that big cannon barrage, which has been so well funded by Xerxe's time.
We wondered if Doinb would have the same impact on the Renekton as he could have had on the Ryze. At the moment, he is in a very powerful position early on this pick.
Yeah, the fact that he's 102 Renekton, 600 gold up on Humanoid is fantastic news for FPX. When Doinb does well, FPX wins. So this 700 gold lead, having it nearly all be concentrated onto Doinb, means they're going to play through him for as long as they can.
You can see how much Humanoid struggles in that lane now. Really not too much he can do. Kobbe perhaps caught out just a little bit here. Pops the heal to get away from the hook, but it was Lwx using the final hour to try and chase in.
And this is multiple members of Splyce having big issues with their wave placement and now being forced to either burn summoners or just take really bad trades. Xerxe needs to focus a little bit less on ganks and a little bit more on helping his team get their proper wave set up so they're not burning things like heals or letting a Renekton slice and dice through waves to smash them in lane.
I'm pretty sure Xerxe was spotted coming into this bottom lane by that ward that Norskaren's about to walk across. Now spot the control ward in the bush, and Xerxe, unable to find a gank path. This wave is now pushing back towards Splyce. And Kobbe and Norskeren perhaps looking for a back timer. They've actually fallen quite far behind in CS in this bottom lane as well, about 10 to 11 behind on average.
Yeah, Lwx has played this Vayne and Kaisa matchup before, so you can see their comfort right there. And they're going deep in this gank.
Yes, too easy to shut down Humanoid underneath the tower. Doinb just about survives. The unleashed power wasn't enough.
And it was the fact that Xerxe was spending so much time bottom that he wasn't in position for that type of dive. FPX found the perfect window to punish Humanoid, and they are just making this Renekton Syndra matchup a punching bag.
And that is reminiscent of the last time we saw Doinb take over the game, when they were diving the Tristana mid lane with the Ryze there. So Doinb and Tian trying to play through here, and they
Guess
might
who's coming
get
top?
shutdown gold.
Doinb's on his way. Chachi still has Splash, but the Hex Drinker has already been procced. Counter teleport used by Humanoid. So they will be able to stop Chachi from dying at the expense of Humanoid's TP.
Definitely a needed counter there by Humanoid. If that TP doesn't go through, there's a chance Doinb just never would have been able to be shut down after that point. But they do, and because the resources were used top, Xerxe can get this Ocean Drake.
But I believe that Gragas is currently sitting on the Rift Herald. So across map, yes, the teleport came through from Humanoid to dissuade the dive, but Ocean for Herald, this could be a big window for FPX to continue to accelerate their gold lead.
And all that does is open up extra lanes, extra gank paths for Doinb and Tian together. They've worked so well together so far in this game. We now actually see Humanoid in the top lane trying to clear this out. And he'll be in a very sticky spot if he stays up there. Expect him to go back towards mid. The shorter lane definitely helps the Syndra a little bit.
It's really rough, though, now that Doinb has his Tiamat as well as a BF sword. Not only is he going to hit exceptionally hard, but he's not in trouble of being burst out, because as long as he has his ultimate, he kind of gets like the health and the resistance there, and then he'll have the push priority with the Tiamat. So Doinb's always going to have rotation and first access to this river.
Yeah, and I think with the Rift Herald, it's probably going to be dropped right now in the mid lane. They're just going to get mid-turret.
Yep.
They're going to open up the map so much earlier than you're used to seeing. And with a immobile, not even Ludens yet Syndra, it's going to be so difficult for Humanoid to stay in the game with this turret being down.
A 2-level down Syndra as well. Tower about to fall. The cannon barrage coming out. Splyce trying to defend this one, but Humanoid is already knocked back by the explosive cask. And the tower in mid goes down. Gold given to Doinb once again. FPX, very good play early in this game. 2,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, and that's because Doinb's 1,900 gold ahead of the Syndra. So it is a concentrated advantage for this team. There's actually a lead on Chachi, 600 in the top lane thanks to those 2 kills. And randomly, about 800 gold on Crisp that doesn't manifest in that much. So really, Splyce need to play away from Renekton for a while.
I just have a feeling that when you're playing against FPX, Doinb is going to be in the middle of
Renekton comes
Pretty
to
hard
you.
to play
absolutely everything. And we were kind of talking earlier that, oh, you know, if Chachi's ultimate is really strong, you know, that could help get Splyce over the line. But you now have such a beefy, fed Renekton. Team fights are going to be very scary for Splyce in the next coming minutes.
It's Doinb teaming up with Crisp and Lwx to take down this bot lane tower. 2 plates already fallen. Splyce trying to react because you can see Xerxe coming across. Chachi trading with Gimgoon in the top lane, but not on the winning side of that. Plate's taken by Humanoid in mid, but it's all small trades that Splyce are trying to get because they are not in control of the tempo of this game anymore.
That was Almost very greedy from Humanoid.
Yeah, but still worth in this case, since the punishment didn't come through, being able to get 320 gold just because Doinb was going to control a little bit of vision down on the bot side. Something to keep Splyce in this game, and you can kind of feel what's happening in this game. FPX is very close to just snowballing to the victory, a la what they just did to J-Team, and Splyce has had such an incredible day. Going 3-0, making it to quarters, having a chance for first. This next 5 or 10 minutes of the game is where Splyce kind of has to do something, and I think it's pretty critical that they get something onto Doinb somehow, whether that's vision or a pick.
At the moment, Doinb just controlling the pace of the game pretty well. 14 minutes and a half in. It's still that 3,500 gold lead for FPX. We have an Ocean Dragon in a minute and a half, and of course that Rift had already been used and taken by Tian.
Doinb's going to go ahead, make his back, and have his big buy. And now it's a question of where do FPX strike now that they have the Spear of Shojin complete. I would expect it would probably be the bot lane, since that's kind of FPX's the motto, as well as the fact that Ocean's going to be spawning in 130. But there is a small window that they could play topside before the dragon spawns.
Yeah, and the struggle here, I think, for Splyce is that with current itemization power spikes, FPX is stronger everywhere.
Yep.
Even the 0-2 Ryze was winning trades against Vizicsacsi, but it is still their best chance of somewhere to go. So that's where I think they should spend their time.
Xerxe is on the top side of the map right now. Tian's down towards the bottom. Gimgoon trading in with Xerxe. The wave on its way in, but really not going to be able to tank that up. Gimgoon just clears it out, gets back underneath the tower, and Xerxe will wait for the next wave to come in.
But with Xerxe on top side, you see the pings from FPX on the bot side. They have numbers advantage there, and there's Doinb.
Yeah, just flashes in with the Dominus Humanoid, going to try and flash away, looking for the scatter of the week, the unleashed power. It didn't really do too much, but Doinb decided he didn't want to trade anymore.
Flash all trades between those two is a win for Splyce, because he's the strongest member. Now they can try and dive.
Realm Warp used by Gimgoon, flashes away from the cocoon. Beautiful stuff there from Gimgoon in the top lane. He will sacrifice some of his tower for it, but meanwhile FPX are taking the turret in the bottom lane.
It was the fact that damage has already been done. FPX, by forcing Humanoid up and making sure that they can threaten and apply Doinb's pressure towards the bot side of the map, just completely cracked open that tower. Now Lwx is going to be very fat and happy on this Vayne, and then Gimgoon cross map makes the crazy outplay so that the only thing Splyce get in return is a tower themselves.
That's the other thing that FPX kind of have in their back pocket is the potential for a late game Vayne who just got the solo turret gold and is sitting at a healthy 10 CS per minute so far. So we've seen Vayne fall off because of some minor nerfs after his meta, but the late game Vayne is still incredibly potent.
Norskeren hooked up here. You can see he uses the charm straight away, trying to get in, but they jump in for the Vayne. Instead, Norskeren's able to get away. Lwx taken low. The cannon barrage not going to be enough. Here goes Kobbe. Tries to jump into the backline, goes golden straight away. One flash forward for the auto. He should fall here, chased down by FPX, but it's a 1-for-1 trade in the bottom lane. Flash away from Norskeren from the explosive cast. Xerxe stepping forward, looking for a bit more damage.
Flanking.
Xerxe has the flank. It's a 4v3 in favor of Splyce. The Snakes are trying to bite back against the Phoenix, but the Phoenix will rise again in this fight with the TP coming in. Gimgoon joins the fray, gets the root onto Xerxe, and now FunPlus Phoenix looking for the re-engage. Hook lands. Xerxe eats the oranges though, and he's caged. Shut down! Scatter the weak hits too! Splyce still fighting for their lives, but they will sacrifice Xerxe, and now the re-engage comes in. FPX trying to get away, dodge away from Xerxe, and here comes no more damage from Splyce.
Well, Doinb's teleport is 20 seconds from now on a control word if Splyce stick around. This has been Splyce fighting back and making this fight even. They got the shutdown where they needed it, and they were able to get 2 kills onto Kobbe.
And from a 4,000 gold deficit, it's now only 2.5. They have closed that down so much with this fight.
But this was very scary and required a lot of step up from individual members from Splyce. So it starts with Kobbe really feeling himself, looks for the dive and manages to pick up the kill on Lwx, expending everything, including his flash. And then when you see the flank from Xerxe, like, okay, maybe this goes Splyce's way, but Crisp plays this fight so well.
Watch the auto attacks on the barrels, not letting Xerxe get off that barrel, and then yes, Xerxe can run away, but he's not doing any damage. So many mechanical plays towards the end here as FPX chases back through, right? You see Doinb going in, but everyone properly focuses him, and Humanoid had the ultimate for that moment to try and get his team back in the game.
Xerxe was able to get rid of both the hook and the Ruthless Predator stun with 1 oranges as well, which meant he stayed alive in the fight. Let's look at where we are in terms of items. Xerxe finished Trinity Force, finished Luden's on Humanoid, the Manamune into Ginsu's on its way for Kobbe. On the other side, Lwx almost got that Zeal item complete. The Spear of Sojourn still sits there for Doinb. He's almost towards that Black Cleaver. There is still a strong lead here for FPX, 3,000 gold or so, and they're looking for another tower in the top lane.
And Xerxe is constantly just playing weak side as Xerxe is playing around with this dragon right now. Now, he does have the ultimate. It eventually buys him some time, but he loses half health on this top tower.
Gotta say, pretty good weak side player to be 2-0-3, 19 minutes into the game. After getting a little bit of jungle attention early, they've definitely swapped that around to have Ryze and GP being the weak side players as Renekton gets played around for FPX.
With Xerxe and Humanoid both here in the bottom lane, Gimgoon abandoned his turret. Splyce will get their second of the game, but FunPlus Phoenix, as we said, put a lot of damage down to that tier 2 in the top lane. Baron is up in just 12 seconds time, and FunPlus Phoenix trying to get some control around the vision here.
At this point in the map, it kind of feels like very different goals. For Splyce, yes, you have some item breakpoints on most of your team, but you're really looking at Kobbe getting to that Rage Blade, and that's going to be your big go button. For FPX, it's now about how you utilize your lane assignments with such a powerful Renekton and your Ryze, and making sure that you're picking the right side of the map. As Jatt said, they keep going at Xerxe, but he has so much wave clear, and he's stalling them out while Splyce are kind of bleeding FPX out on other sides of the map. And in a situation where they were so far behind for so much of this game, they've been stalled out long enough that Splyce has started to crawl back into this game to have a fighting chance.
After being put miles behind, Humanoid actually up in CS over Doinb now, still only sitting at an item and a half, but the further he can get towards those second, third items, the more power he can have in a team fight. Just think of Lwx and unleash power on him. If you get a couple of items on Humanoid, could be game-changing. Right now...
I think with the Phantom Dancer, though, completed...
That's true. Phantom Dancer will help a lot.
Gonna feel not as dire as it once was, just because Humanoid is so far behind, 0, 3, and 2 on the Syndra. I don't know if he has... Like, if he lands everything, he might just 100-0 Vayne, but with the Phantom Dancer and with Humanoid being behind, I actually don't think he has that much threat. I think Humanoid at this point is actually just responsible for CC and kind of initial burst, while Kobbe plays cleanup duty.
Yeah, and FPX has been unable to get sustained vision inside the jungles of Splyce. That's the big thing that's allowing Splyce to kind of neutralize this game. Additionally, the 2 big roams that Tian has pulled off have kind of been sensed by Vizicsacsi, and that's kind of wasting a lot of this Gragas' time. So the natural catalyst for this game will likely be the Infernal Drake, since FPX doesn't have the deep jungle vision required to start baiting Baron.
Which means that we could potentially just have a timeout where teams look at that 2-minute timer and it's hoover up as much gold as possible in this 2-minute window before everyone kind of straps on their pads and looks to clash.
Gimgoon currently has the push in the bottom lane. It looks like Xerxe is the one to go and answer that. Doinb is still in the top side here for FunPlus Phoenix, but Xerxe realizes perhaps he's not in the best of positions, hadn't cleared out that bush he was hiding in, and that gives Gimgoon a little bit of free time with this tower down bot.
Yeah, actually a little curious that Vizicsacsi grouped in this instance with no objectives being up, but it allows Splyce to get a little bit of mid lane priority, and now Humanoid, he's just going to get jumped on.
Face check straight into Doinb there, and Doinb should just be able to clean this one up. Humanoid does have flash, so does Doinb, and there's the flash forward. Too easy for Doinb. The cocoon coming out. They're still looking for the fight. The dominance is there, but the Phoenix comes out. Oh, here comes Kobbe jumping from the backline, and Doinb will fall. Got a lot of damage down, but wasn't able to take down another man.
That was about a quarter second away from a 1v4, with that Sojin giving him the cooldowns if he could get another empowered Q healing up. But with all of that being said, more gold goes over to Splyce in that trade from a solo kill versus an assisted kill. So if they can neutralize, it will be worth. They lose so much pressure, though, because they sent a bunch of people top lane.
Losing damage on the mid lane tower. Cannon Barrage did come out, and that means the Demolish Block wasn't able to be used by FunPlus Phoenix. Gimgoon forced away from the bot side of the map, and now we're 55 seconds away from that dragon. The Infernal on its way to spawn.
Which is why you're seeing the resets come in from FPX. They want to quickly go back, grab the necessary control wards, and then start setting up the map for this Infernal. This was Humanoid. Yeah, you can say maybe you just flash that much earlier, but it was also the fact that Doinb held his flash to make sure that as soon as he did, he'd have the stun just to burst.
Yeah, it was a bad start from Humanoid, but then the rest of Splyce was up here, and because Kobbe ulted in, right there, the Q was about to come back for Doinb, but I want to say here, I don't think Doinb should have flashed for that kill. Because Infernal Drake's up in 20 seconds now, and the flash on an ult Sojourn Renekton is his trump card. If he can't get into this fight, Splyce might actually be able to win it and control the Infernal Drake.
And I agree with you. So Doinb is trying to get very creative about how he's going to do it. Now, he will be spotted because he's hard shoving bot lane, trying to get push priority in there. But you can see that Doinb is trying to slip in underneath Splyce and make sure that he can find a proper flank position without that flash.
Chachi's going to spot him out with Pell already used here by Xerxe, but Chachi forced away. Doinb, the round warp coming in as well. Is this going to be taken? Two people take it in. FunPlus Phoenix have separated themselves, and Crisp almost falls. Norskeren dodges back. Gimgoon's going to get the lantern into the fight, and now the Infernal Dragon is FunPlus Phoenix's reward, but maybe Splyce want to keep fighting it. Infernal Dragon down, Splyce cannot find an avenue into the fight.
I mean, it was messy, but it did work.
Yeah, and now they get the hook.
Hook onto Humanoid. Humanoid, no time to react. Another kill to FPX, and FPX might just turn their eyes straight towards the Baron.
At least he still had his flash. Wasn't useful in that case, but it was Doinb actually finding the flank onto Vizicsacsi that started that fight off so well, and because it is a 5v4, they're going to at least start it, but I think they should be looking for picks here.
I agree with you. Baron on the cards. We saw Splyce throw at Baron against FPX the first time they played. Teleport coming in. Chachi still has his teleport in the bottom lane at the moment. 7,000 HP left on the Baron. Tian is just backing it up. The explosive cast doesn't connect. The repeller was used by Xerxe. Here comes Tian. Doinb screwdriving his way into the backline. Norskeren lands the quickness. They lose their jungler. Chachi did not burn teleport. Humanoid is on his way back up.
Yeah. Chachi and Humanoid both have teleports, so it would be a 4v5 and a lot of ultimates down for FPX. If they want to stop this Baron, Splyce have to go now.
3,000 HP left on it. Splyce going to try and fight it, but already the Baron has fallen. You have to feel Tian gets it. Chachi now on the front line. Crispal has fallen. Splyce, you got to take the fight. You got to make your moment happen. Humanoid jumps in. Tian goes golden. Gimgoon has the flank position. Tian will pay for the Baron with his life, but FPX get 4 Barons out alive.
And FPX force a beautiful decision on Splyce, a very hard one to crack. They didn't have the Syndra, so they knew that they could force the fight, probably win it. They get the Baron in the end, and Splyce aren't able to force the fight afterwards. They didn't have critical cooldowns like the GP ultimate, which would have helped them close the distance to try to hunt down some of those Barons that got out for FPX.
Watching that again, Humanoid just not enough patience to wait for the minion wave to come to him. His second death because of that. And then Splyce just have a really hard time getting the proper vision over this pit. You knew that FPX was probably going to peel for at least the first one because they're such a kill-hungry team, and you could see Gimgoon hunting in the top. So sure, Splyce pull off and lose one. It ends up being their jungler, and from there, Splyce is probably expecting FPX to just come back, so they wait, and they're so cautious to go in, worried about a full turn that would lead to a wipe and a Baron. And yes, the Baron goes over to FPX, but Splyce was in a very difficult situation to get this one. Big play and big advantage for FPX.
Yeah, they are now almost 5,000 gold ahead. 2 minutes left on this Baron power play. You can see how quickly that snowballed after the last couple of fights, and you have a great 1-3-1. Doinb is in a great position. Gimgoon very strong as well. They can just split the map and pull Splyce to try and answer.
I don't think Chachi's getting out of this one.
We will see. He hasn't got the flash, the cannon barrage is coming down, but I believe you might be right there, Jatt. Chachi falls in a side lane, but Splyce may be looking for the fight here as Kobbe jumps in. Crisp goes golden. Norskeren going in with the quickness with the charm, and Crisp has fallen. The shutdown goes to Xerxe. They're trying to get Tian on the back alive, but already Doinb's taken 2, and meanwhile in the top lane, Gimgoon is just pushing in to the inhibitors. Doinb gets another. Kobbe can't take him out. Lwx will fall in the end, but 3 kills go to Doinb in a 4v5, and FPX are looking at the Nexus.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a big play by FPX. Didn't even realize Gimgoon wasn't there with how close that fight ended up being. Kobbe getting a lot of gold out of that, but FPX ends up getting the inhib.
Yep, Kobbe trying to go hero mode, but Gimgoon just walked it in. There's still 2 Barons live for FPX, so while the timer is very quickly ticking down, they still can do a lot more damage with it if they want.
Have another look at that fight, because it's Chachi who gets caught out at the start.
Yeah, and then you can see Splyce say, well, we actually have to fight. Otherwise, we're going to probably lose 2 inhibitors. Ryze is up top lane. This is our chance. Kobbe jumps in early and gets a lot of damage onto Chris, but then just watch Kobbe and Lwx the rest of this fight and the ability to apply or dodge CC. So, right here, Lwx looks like he'd want to clean the CC, but he gets stunned into also a cocoon, and that's what buys time for Kobbe to pick up the shutdown goal.
Doinb is now 7-2-3 on Renekton after that fight, though. Titanic Hydra, Sterax, Black Cleaver, and the Spear of Sojourn complete.
Yeah, and moments like this is where the best players need to step up. Doinb said he didn't want to be put on a more passive champion, actually swaps off of his signature Ryze to get on the Renekton. And on Splyce's side, yes, they're 5,000 gold down, but they got gold on the right guy. They got it on Kobbe with a 5-1. Nashor's Tooth completed. Zhonya's on the way. Kaisa. So, for FPX to win, it's Doinb. For Splyce to win, Kobbe has to carry.
You just think about how terrifying that is, though, with how Kobbe has been flying in there, trying to walk down Doinb. It's just a single chain CC that would end it all. I think
Nice
that's
sidestep from Humanoid.
the best play that Humanoid's made all game.
Yeah. I think that's reminiscent to his Ryze play earlier on versus GAM eSports. Was able to dodge a few ganks in that game. This game, he has been on the receiving end of a lot of hurt. Hook not going to connect there by Chris, but this mid lane tower is going to fall. FPX get their sixth turret of the game, make that 7 as Doinb looks for the bottom lane. Ruthless Predator coming out. Doinb's going to tank up a couple of tower shots, but not really going to care too much about that. He can heal back up off the minion wave. Scatter the Weak connects on Tian, but FPX are just trying to pull Splyce around the map right now. The Baron has expired, and perhaps that means they're going to have to halt their aggression.
And I think they have waited a little bit to take that Drake now. I wouldn't be too surprised if FPX goes down and takes that Cloud, meaning the next spawn would end up being the Elder. Or there's a chance they don't want to do that because Splyce has the same number of Drakes. I would suggest FPX goes down and do that, though, since with the Renekton, they don't want to fall off too hard.
And it looks like that's what's going to happen. Tian is on his way down towards the Cloud. Should be a pretty easy secure for him. Gimgoon's making sure those super minions continue to pressure the Splyce base in the top lane.
Yeah, although I gotta say, watching more and more Sojourn Renekton in LPL, LCK, and here at Worlds, it definitely falls off way less than you would expect.
Yeah.
We've seen late game Renektons 1v3, 1v4. If there's any type of fall off, it's about fight access. So it is still possible to CC the melee champion as he goes in and burst him down, but at every point in the game, if Doinb gets the right access, he will wreck.
So you're saying it's broken?
There's a reason that they said Sojourn's going away.
Yeah, there's a reason it's leaving the game.
It's a bit overtuned.
Little bit strong. Doinb now looking for Chachi in this side lane. He'll clear out the control ward in a heartbeat. Didn't expect it to go down that quickly. 4 items are complete on Kobbe, the key carry, as we've said, for Splyce. He's now got the Zhonya's Hourglass alongside the Nash's Tooth, but you have to remember, Lwx is playing Vayne as well. So as much as you can focus down Doinb in a fight, that Vayne is still going to shred through you.
But you still have ridiculous burst damage, basically, on both these compositions if Doinb gets a hold of you and just how he'll just wreck an entire team. But multiple damage threats across the board. This should come out to execution of team fights. And so all eyes are who gets picked, who can use the vision control, do the barrels actually land, does a death sentence connect with Humanoid again?
Norskeren was looking for a flank position here. He's on a control ward, means he's not being spotted out, but now he has. Going to clear out a ward. Chris will have a hook in just a second's time, but not going to use it. Doinb still pushing in the bottom lane by himself. This will be another tower. Over to FunPlus Phoenix. Splyce trying to react, trying to get vision around this Baron that has now respawned, but FPX with a 6,000 gold lead are still very much in the driver's seat.
But with that inhib missing up into the top lane, Splyce are losing their window where they're actually just kind of getting choked out of this area.
It's only 25 seconds before that inhib does respawn, though, so this should be the last super minion wave on its way in.
Yeah, unfortunately for Splyce, though, they don't have mid-priority or river vision, so this is the danger zone, really, when dealing with other teams' Barons. The one saving grace would be that they do have Chachi off in a side lane who can lend aid faster than the Renekton, thanks to the GP ultimate, but FPX is just going to start this with Vayne because they can 2-man it while still being able to pull off.
Doinb is actually fighting off to Chachi. Chachi has to flash away. The Slice and Dice not going to be able to chase him down. Looks like Doinb wasn't able to find the connection flash for flash in that bottom lane.
But you can see that FPX don't have to just play around the Baron because of how strong the Renekton is. They continue to sit in a 1-4 formation, have Doinb or even a 1-3-1 and also put Gimgoon in a side lane and slowly just, again, brute force Splyce in these side lanes, force them to make a decision where they're not comfortable, where Splyce would have to overcommit to a side of the map, and that's when FPX want to punish them.
Yeah, however, they have to deal with this ultimate cooldown on Doinb now. I have to credit Vizicsacsi here. Goes back, finishes his Infinity Edge. If he lands a barrel in a late game team fight, it could be group deciding. And the fact that he was able to withstand the Renekton ultimate while maintaining his own ultimate gives Splyce time where they can work towards mid-priority without having to worry as much about the Baron.
Of course, both these teams already. Oh, Norskaren's going to go in. The Cocoon's landed onto Tian. There's the charge as well. He's dead. Tian, the jungler, down. And now Splyce have an opportunity, but Chachi has been caught out by Gimgoon. Gimgoon still has his flash. How's the roam-up? Looking for the chase. Teleport coming in. And they're going to try and join the fight. Here's the TP. I believe it's Humanoid joining his teammate. The cannon barrage comes down, and Gimgoon flashes away. The unleashed power is going to chase him. He goes golden, but he's not going to live for too much longer. Splyce find 2 kills.
Oh, this is interesting because it's now 5v3 on the map. How quickly can Splyce move over? And would FPX try a 3v3 here?
Doinb has the ultimate backup. No flash on him, but remember, Norskeren, no quickness. Kobbe has both of summons and the nose killer instinct. Couldn't get the shield. Splyce now pushing in the bottom lane. Chachi going up towards top. Splyce will try to take this mid lane tower.
Yeah, because suddenly it's Splyce that have tempo advantage on the map. They've finally got that mid lane priority. You can see Humanoid's also shoving in. He's now cutting back towards his team, trying to get there in time.
They want kills.
The FPX are hunting for them.
Splyce needs to be so careful around this because FPX, all they need is a second. That's all Doinb needs. He's got his GA now as well on the Renekton. You got to kill him twice if you want to take down FPX.
10 more seconds until Splyce can have 5v5. Kind of ridiculous that Crisp flashed for that, knowing that there's still only 4 people alive, but FPX trying to keep the aggression up to get back control of this mid lane.
And reminder that Gimgoon does have access to his teleport. He's currently now walking to the play, but there are so many random wards littered around everywhere.
A ward just behind Splyce here as well. They haven't spotted that out. Crisp not stunned up with the scat of the week, but Splyce will step back here thinking they're a lot safer than they are because there's a ward sitting just behind them.
But the decisions are about to get very intense here as we are now going to move from fighting over one side of a map to 2. The Elder spawns in 20. The Baron is already up, and FPX have now just brute force through mid.
FPX has such poor vision that they have to be very careful about how they check. The Realm Warp will give them temporary vision, and now Baron's at 6,000.
Splyce starts to peel off it. They're not keeping it aggro. It's going to start to reset. Mid-wave prio. Hook gonna land, but it's only onto Xerxe. Tian looking to back away from this one. Splyce clear out the vision once again.
So now Elder's alive as well. So mid-priority becomes even more important. They're kind of both able to clear out the wave so quickly, but it's still Splyce that has the inner track towards Baron.
And frankly, you can actually just kick one of your ADCs to go pick up this Elder. If FPX don't want to play around with this Baron, Lwx can actually just go take that by himself.
They can't though, because Splyce has been so aggressive with this Baron. As FPX spots it, it doesn't stop Splyce.
Tian could look for the steal. FPX still there. Baron's still aggroed by Splyce. 7,000 HP on it now. Perhaps they back away. Doinb still a quarter of the cooldown left on his flash before he can get into this fight. And Splyce disengage, but they give up mid-prio. They give over control over the Elder Dragon.
Splyce has won this battle, and it gives them the advantage in the ward. They had completely been starved of control wards. So quickly, Crisp resets for the 2 controls. And now, knowing Splyce is on a recall pattern, FPX is just going to go for this Drake.
FPX just bled them out right there. They played merry-go-round with the mid lane priority. Like you said, they exhausted the vision line. They exhausted the priority. FPX now have control over mid lane. It gives them the Elder, which now they can use that to force control over the Baron.
FPX called Splyce's bluff. They said, stick on the Baron if you want, but we are going to fight you over it. Splyce backed away, lost control, and FPX take the objective.
Now this Elder lasts for 2.5 minutes. There is 25 seconds until Doinb has flash again. We'll have to see if they actually just force a 5v5 around the Baron pit, because if Doinb gets access in a team fight, it could be the game. I don't want to see him burn his ultimate again, attempting to get a 1v1 kill, because I think that has stalled out FPX. But there's the teleport. They have the controller vision. It is FPX's time to act.
There's also the added benefit that at this late in the game, whoever has control over the Baron pit, in this case it's FPX, could actually just 2-man it. You have the necessary tanks as well as the AD carries, so everyone has to be so aware of maintaining vision control of this area.
Looking for a flank. Splyce did restock their control wards, so they have 4 that they can put down that would slowly need to be cleared away.
So Chachi's trying to come across to join the team. Doinb stepping forward, lands the stun on Norskeren, who tries to jump away. There's the charm as well. But already Xerxe's dead. That's 2. They get Chris, but the chase is on. Lwx jumping onto Humanoid, who goes gold, and Kobbe pops his stopwatch as well. But you have to feel this is it. Fly, Phoenix, fly. They clean up the fight in the jungle. Splyce get wiped away, and there's nothing Chachi can do. He flashes away, but FunPlus Phoenix will look towards winning this game.
Doinb finally got his flash off in a team fight, and he destroyed Splyce. They now have a minion wave and 3 strong while preventing the Gangplank from recalling. This should be it.
This is not the LGD story. This is not the Invictus Gaming story. This is super carry Doinb taking first in groups.
FunPlus Phoenix rise from the ashes and lock their spot as first in Group B.
It may have looked a little bit more difficult than FPX had intended, and Splyce put up a hell of a fight. Splyce had such a spectacular day to fly through and force this tiebreaker, but at the end of the day, it is FPX who win the series against Splyce 2-1 and are the first team to advance as the #1 seed in their group.
Great stuff by them. They waited out. They were patient. They made the calls they needed to, played through Doinb when they needed to in that game.
Patience, and that's the key word. Not a word that's often associated with LPL teams, especially not with FPX. It was the patience and the out macro around the Baron and the Elder Pit that really broke that game open for FPX. You saw the viciousness in how they attack the map, their ability to snowball, how competent they are on these different champions, but you also got to see them outthink their opponent.
And I think we also saw the 2 sides of Splyce today. First 3 games, they looked incredible. Humanoid had some great performances. Norskeren the same. But in that game, we saw sometimes they're just not as experienced. Sometimes they get picked out. They can't play on the defensive side of the map. Humanoid especially struggled to have a great performance in this game versus FunPlus Phoenix.
Yeah, I think both of these teams had consistency struggles throughout. You thought maybe this day was just going to be blessed for Splyce and they'd be able to keep up their great mid-game performances throughout the whole thing. Had a bit of a lull in this game, although did stall it out fairly well. I think they can walk away from this a little disappointed because they didn't get first, but ultimately very happy.
If at the start of the day you told me Splyce was getting second in this group, I would have bitten your hand off. Like, there's no way anyone really expected that to happen. It's bite the hand that feeds you. It's like, yes, yes,
okay.
definitely.
Okay, I'm just going to sound like this.
Okay, I'm not actually going to bite his hand. You guys don't understand idioms.
But the rest of FPX as well, when I say Splyce walks away a little disappointed but still happy, I think the same should be said of FPX because they too are a young team. They're attending their first World Championship. They were so dominant in the LPL, and they were expected to finish first. They finished first.
They did.
It wasn't in the manner that they wanted, and they definitely had some games where they looked much more vulnerable, but they aren't ultimately punished